And we're back.
Hello, everybody. We are back.
We are back today. No beer today. I'm trying to work on some health issues. He's working on this. He's got tea. He's working on his health issue, or just being healthy.
We're doing sober October.
Except I'm gonna go home, smoke a little devil's grass to go to sleep. So don't tell me too much into it.
Have you heard of the expression "sober curious"?
What the hell? That sounds cool.
I don't know.
Okay, sober curious is like a gay guy curious about being gay.
It sounds a little like that, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I was reading an article on beer, which is how non-alcoholic beer has been growing for the past decade. It's almost like double compared to just regular alcoholic beer.
I'd be damned.
Regular alcoholic beer sales have just stayed flat over the past decade, and non-alcoholic beer has been significantly increasing, almost 90-something%, right? And then the article was talking about how that's the new kind of trendy thing, and that's what they're calling it, sober curious. So a lot of these people who are now, because of health reasons or because they're trying to cut on alcohol consumption, they're going for non-alcoholic beer, and they're calling that little trend sober curious.
They're just pussies,
and that's what I thought too.
Pick up a stein, be a fuking man.
Who wants to drink beer that has no alcohol?
That's like smoking weed that has no THC.
Yeah, what's the point of it?
Or doing mushrooms that have no psilocybin.
Because when you first drink beer as a kid, we're
Latinos.
You don't like it, right? It's disgusting. You don't want to taste it. You're like, why are people, adults drinking this? But then you acquire a taste for it, and now I actually enjoy beer, especially on a hot summer day, a lager, a nice either Mexican lager or even one of the American lagers. It just hits the spot when you drink it, right? But other than that, why would you want to drink some liquid that tastes like beer but doesn't have the beer effects?
Yeah, dude, and that's I don't know. It's besides me, it's like you it's like you want that that little fizz, you want all that good stuff, but you don't want to get drunk. That's like going to the party and not dancing. I guess that's cool. I get it. That's fine. But dang,
I don't dance.
You dance in your head. You're like, what did it? Oh man. So, anyways, as we often do,
that's a new trend.
Yeah.
In case you guys want to jump onto that,
get to it before the hipsters take over. Anyways, so we've done this before. We're gonna do something similar. I think we did a Christmas one. We did a St. Patrick's one. We did I don't think we did a Thanksgiving one, but
Valentine's Day.
If you guys didn't know, and for everyone who was at parties probably this past weekend, there were probably Halloween parties, and for once women get to really express how they really feel on the inside without being shamed, right? Because everyone is I was on Twitter, dude, everyone's ass is hanging out. It's like I see so much ass and tits that's it's like I'm desensitized of it. It's like I don't get that it's like another booty.
You sound like you're complaining about watching booty, dude.
I don't know if I'm complaining. It's more like
jaded about booty now for some reason.
I'm just like,
That's why I was watching a meme the other day. Someone posted, and it was like some creepy little face of, I don't know if it was an animal or like a cartoon thing. And it was two, right? Like two sides to it.
Right.
And the first face said the first time you see titties, and it's like a creepy little smile, and the other one, it was the same picture, and it's like the 180,000 times you see titties, the same face. It's pretty accurate. I mean, we're wired, heterosexual males are wired to appreciate titties.
Yeah, you know what? Deep down inside, I still want to be giddy about it, but it's just there's a surplus of it, and I'm like, ooh. I'm like, oh.
But I can't complain about those, women dressing up like that. I mean, because I still also believe that yoga pants is one of men's greatest creations. So, that kind of goes along the same lines. So I'm not complaining about that, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's just and
there's no creativity.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is, and I think we've reached the point of everything has been exhausted and beat over the head with the same thing. They're just like, oh, another nice booty or another this, and you just kind of woo woo. You don't like, oh, but you just kind of give, kind of go on about it.
Right.
But definitely. So Halloween and all this stuff. You going to parties, man?
I'm not really like a party person, not anymore. Well, I never really was, but even now, I'm getting older. I don't really care too much for that.
Mhm.
I don't mind them, but I'm also not, looking forward to the weekend to go party like a
Yeah.
lot of people do.
Yeah, that was a big priority in my life, and I definitely used to look forward to Halloween just because of the excitement of people, and people still typically get excited when they don't have other things to do. So this is a reason to kind of get excited, and I used to enjoy get into excitement. I don't celebrate anything, but it's just you can kind of get behind like
It's just the excuse of
yeah,
partying and
exactly,
getting together with friends or slutty chicks with costumes.
yeah,
No, I understand. I understand that the social aspect for it, but then it's also interesting to look into like
a
where a
little
lot
bit of
of
the
this
history,
stuff originates from. Because as we know, we don't really tend to question things uh, throughout our lives. We just kind of go along with whatever everyone else is doing, right?
right?
So it's fascinating when we go into and you find, like where a lot of this stuff comes from. In this case, we're talking about Halloween and kind of just reading up on some of the origins behind it, and there's definitely some pretty cool, interesting stuff we were reading up. What'd you find?
Well, something I kind of already knew, but it's just always nice to kind of go back and refresh a little bit of that, what you already know. And it's, I just fucking love learning. Just, it's awesome. But, it all started with the Irish. Well, not necessarily the Irish, but a Celtic kind of holiday a couple thousand years ago where, this article came from the History Channel. It said that, between October 31st and November 1st, there was the harvest. So they were kind of, bringing in or ushering the dark half of the year. Usually, as we know, that's kind of when at the end of October, early November, things happen. But in history, this is kind of where where it kind of came from. So yeah, it came from a Celtic kind of ritual from 300, 200 or 2000 years ago, which now as we know it, it's gone to this, kind of fun, playful kind of holiday.
Right.
But if you really look into it, it really just, it derived from one thing and one thing led to another. And
Right.
then that kind of started spreading and everyone started taking their own adaptation of it. And it became either the Dia de los Muertos or what they do in Germany, where they do all that kind of stuff. But, it really just started from that. And then it was kind of like their way or that time period of them to have an ease. It's a little to them. It was a little easier to talk to those outer world spirits that were either gonna help out with the crops or they were gonna help out, not harm, because I know like they were superstitious about they didn't pay respects or did kind of that stuff. It was either gonna harm their crops or it was gonna harm anything else. So like anything else, we're a little afraid of that. We don't want to upset the
Right.
spiritual world, and
Yeah, so for those who don't know, the Celts were Northern European people back, a couple thousand years, like you mentioned, and who were later conquered by the Romans. A little, brief history lesson here. And then, so yeah, they had their sort of harvest celebration. Then how like winter was coming after that. Like Game of Thrones, winter's coming. They're all afraid of winter because it's gloomier, and obviously there's less food. You can't really grow food, so they also attribute it to, like you're saying, to spirits, and they kind of had that belief. Like now, you just need to watch out for the spirits. And then after the Romans conquered the Celts, around that time, around Jesus' time, I think that by that time they were all kind of conquered. Uh, Over the years, over the centuries after that, they started merging, like you're saying, with some of the Roman and Christian beliefs. In this case, the one you mentioned, the day of the like the holy, or the, what was
yeah,
it?
that happened with Pope Gregory the Third. He's the one that kind of wanted to mix this with this like a spiritual kind of holiday. And honestly, as we probably know, early on they would light fires and they would either sacrifice things. So it was very ritualistic. It was very some we see. We actually saw that nowadays. We think that's a cult, which it probably was. It is. So yeah, they did all that stuff. They sacrificed animals, fruits, they sacrificed everything to appease these spirits, you know. And it turned out that, you know, the whole why little kids dressed up and everything, it was more of like once it started kind of developing, it was like, oh, you don't want you want to make the spirits afraid. So by dressing up in these you know, scary costumes, you're gonna avoid getting kidnapped by the spirits, and you're gonna actually scare them away. So that's what you want to do. Right. And then it turned out that it even developed even more to where, as we kind of know now, why we leave or our neighbors leave out the little pumpkin with the. We'll get into the pumpkin thing with the basket of candy because they were giving to the spirits, which, as you know, as Hispanic, Latino, you know, the whole Dia de los Muertos, it's they've taken a different approach to it, which is more of like a heartwarming. Let's reach out to the people that are dead. They're probably hungry. Let's give them this. Right. Let's appease them. Let's connect. Dia de los Muertos, and it becomes a totally different holiday almost than what it actually was. So, you know, that was pretty interesting to me. I kind of knew it. For those who don't or did, you know, it's just one of those things to keep in mind. I mean, we're not telling you not to do it or anything like that, but understand the origins of certain things. And
no, well, that's the cool part, you know? It's just fascinating how a lot of the stuff we, like I was saying earlier, like we don't really question it, but then if you kind of try to understand where it comes from, it's very, at the very least, just interesting, yeah? And, you know, obviously, I don't really care whatever people believe. They can believe whatever they want. It's fine. But it's just at least interesting to kind of understand where right. some of this stuff comes from and if it even makes sense. And, you know, at the end of the day, people are just, at this point, I think they're just, I think they don't obviously believe too much of it. They're just partying like we were talking about earlier, just socialize and party, you know?
And it's another way to interact with their kids once a year and kind of get that out the way and go ask for some candy. And then like the whole actual pumpkin stuff, which, you know, I never knew where that came from, right? Until it was more of like, so if you know, the Salt Bay, at one point, I think he was doing little lamb chops. Little chops, right? And he's like throwing it in, you know, his old flamboyant kind of personality that I fucking get a kick out of. So he's doing this and he's throwing these little ribs or half ribs or short ribs, whatever they are. And he starts doing a bunch of with the little, I think it's the parsley or whatever. He does that. And then, so he grabs this thing, looks like an onion, but it's actually, it's a turnip. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what that was. I was like, oh, but they ate it. So back in the day,
they have turnips at the farm.
Yeah, I saw that. But I didn't know. It just looks like like an onion, like a purple onion. So what they would do is they would carve them, and then that's the original pumpkin. And then later on, obviously, they would grab these pumpkins and do all this stuff. And again, it was for those ritualistic purposes. But I'm like, oh, it's pretty interesting where that came from because, you know, in that video where he's doing it, they freaking eat it. So I'm like, oh, I kind of want some now. Like chop it up.
Dude, if you know how to cook turnips, they're not bad.
They're not bad.
I don't know how to cook them. But yeah. So anyway, and like you mentioned, the Irish too, they're the ones who popularized it here in the States after the whole migration to the States in the mid 1800s or so. So before that, you know, like there wasn't really a Halloween tradition here till the Irish came and sort of, you know, pushed that tradition and it started growing and it became what we now know it. But obviously, the corporations, you know, they take, they smell the money, and now I was reading like $8.8 billion in sales of Halloween crap.
Man, we're in the wrong business. No, and you know, like I mentioned before, a quarter of all U.S. candy sales, it happens during the season. So there's definitely profits to be made. When there's profits to make, people are gonna, like you mentioned, going to jump on it and they're going to try to take it away as good as possible. But actually, over the weekend, I was talking to a buddy and he was just telling me how he's Mexican, but he looks white. He looks white, and you know their brothers look all white. You know they look Caucasian. It turns out that his dad had Irish, and then he kind of goes into it, and he didn't realize that Mexico had a good concentration of Irish people that had migrated over, who actually fought with what's his name, Emiliano Zapata and Francisco Villa and all these people. So there's actually you can pull it up where there's like almost a wall of all the Irish people that fought with them. So it's like a homage to them, right? So probably makes sense too how they probably brought it out, introduced it, and then obviously like a true Latino, we grab everything, we make it ours, you know?
Well, I think the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead in Mexico, also there's some Aztec traditions behind it as well. So everything kind of merges, and like people just go along with whatever is popular at the time. Like the sober curious crap now.
So we're
but it's fascinating too. And like we had mentioned in one of the previous episodes too about the whole witch origin, which was actually pretty fascinating too. And I read it on one of Michael Pollan's books. Michael Pollan being the food journalist that we mentioned before. Fascinating books that he has. He's an awesome writer, and he also points out a lot of little interesting facts like that. And the whole witch thing, it started in the medieval times when like the witches, the sorcerers, the people who claim to put spells on you, they had a bunch of like psychedelics and hallucinogens.
These bitches?
Before that.
Yeah.
Like even toads, because some toads have DMT, like if you lick them, you trip. So they obviously played with all these type of drugs that they had, natural drugs, and then they applied it to this type of dildo. And as we know, where a dildo goes, that's where it would go. So these women that's where the witches come from. They start hallucinating. They go on this trip, which is why the whole broomstick taking you on a trip. That's where the origins of this concept comes from. So, ladies, next time you dress up as slutty witches for Halloween, at least you know where all of that originated.
And that's
it's fascinating.
That's that. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. But you know what? Going back to the these and how I often wonder how much of these holidays, how much of these religious views, and not necessarily religion 100%, were altered by psychedelics, or how many of these stories could have possibly be like explained through psychedelics. You know what I'm saying? It's very fucking fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up because so often than not, we you mentioned it. I don't care what you believe in. If you believe in the Smurfs, go pray to them. That's cool. Whatever. I have my own beliefs, and it's like whatever. As long as you don't press your beliefs on me, I'm not gonna do it on you. Everybody keep it good. But think about it, man. It's like all these beliefs that could have more than likely been altered by like psychedelics, and through translation, they kind of just got screwed. It might have just started as a pure, simple, really good thing, and it just got, it landed in somebody's hands or a group of wrong people, and then they kind of to manipulate other people. It's fascinating, Well, I don't know much about it, but I can only imagine.
Yeah. No, there are theories about the whole psychedelic and religion explanation behind it, which again, they're theories, but they are pretty interesting. But the thing is that we also like. Michael Pollan also mentioned as well in one of his books, I think it was that same book, that we always also crave or look for mind-altering substances. Like even monkeys, even animals, like they stumble on fermented fruit, they start eating it and get all buzzed and have a little good time among themselves. So it almost seems like we are like we had that impulse to find these mind-altering substances, whatever they are, whether psychedelics or alcohol or anything else. And dude, it's pretty interesting.
Now that you mentioned that about animals, the panda bear might be the stoner of the of the thing. Don't they like constantly eat
all those leaves?
Yeah, those leaves, and those leaves have that kind of like effect on them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it's one of those. I don't know if it's a koala bear or it's
Are you talking about eucalyptus?
Is that what it is?
Because koalas, I think
is it
that's
koala?
What they eat.
Is it koala or is it panda? If you really look at pandas, I saw a video of a panda like literally tip over and roll to its side. I'm like, dude, you have to have a couple, like, you're probably under the influence, my man. Good to you, Everyone needs an escape. We're all animals. But yeah, no, dude, I think you're right. I mean, going back to the thing, we've talked about it before. It's nice. It's nice to, as long as you do it responsibly, whatever the hell that means, responsibly consuming mind-altering things. Who knows? But yeah, man, like after a long day, you kind of just want to disconnect. You get a couple beers, you forget about it. You actually even laugh about it. Like I've come home, just not in the worst moods. I literally have a couple beers, and it's like you get in that nice little sense of not giving a fuckness, and you're like, you know what? Whatever. And it's just like, let's just keep doing
Whatever.
it.
Let's have another one.
Yeah, let's have another one. Then you forget about it by the 5th or 10th one, whatever. And so yeah, I can definitely understand how things like that, offer an escape for people, and a lot of people just abuse it. But as long as
Well, I was also listening to going back to the Halloween thing, how a lot of people, but because it's kind of turned into an adult celebration now more than a child
Fuck the kids.
celebration. But think of the children.
Nah.
But and Dr. Wendy Walsh was talking about how like it just seems like adults are embracing that a lot more just because they want to escape their their day-to-day routine. So that's why they dress up in little slutty costumes or whatever it is, because I mean, like my initial thinking was like they're just tired of their daily lives. They're nothing fulfilling.
Desperate
about
Housewives.
It. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but yeah, it seems like people just want to get out of it. I never cared to dress up.
I've never dressed up as anything. I don't think, like, voluntarily. Maybe when I was a baby, they might have dressed me up.
The only time I dressed up was I went to a decades party like 10 years ago, but I was trying to impress a girl. And I think it was an 80s party.
It always
So
comes from somewhere. It's always
then
women.
I realized this is the last time I ever do this crap.
Damn, man, you've had a series of heartbreak there.
No, it wasn't a heartbreak. It's just
disappointment.
No. It's just like the effort to impress didn't. Like why did I do that? I'm just done trying to impress by doing stuff that it's not me. It's
this is the thing. Yeah, I think impression comes in all shapes and sizes, and I think everyone has a pretty cool thing. I think everyone's pretty fascinating in their own little world. Some people aren't even aware what that might be, and because so many times I've ran into people. I know we're totally off topic now, but I think this is a good point. Like, how many times I've ran into people who think that I'm not going to get anything from them, and it's just like at the end of the day, I am having something pretty like, oh, they said something pretty cool, or like, damn, this person really is alive. They might not look alive, but they have like a whole complete set of interests and beliefs. And once you start relating, it's all downhill from there. Like, and I just enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. Yeah. I get tired, and my relating skills kind of go to sleep a little bit, like I am right now. I'm a little tired, but no, it's just it's one of those cool things. But so if you're gonna go celebrate Halloween, fucking do it responsibly. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means, but yes, do it responsibly.
Responsibly. Nah, man, responsibility. The hell with that. And everyone else just seems a little bit, happy and stuff.
I'm pretty happy.
Oh no, we're happy. We're hella happy. You know what it is? I think too is, I know we've gone off topic, but I think we got a couple of extra minutes, 5 to be exact. The cool thing is, it's like, and none of that is wrong. We have these points of views, and they're only our points of views, and they're worked out for us so far. But if I think people gave it a little bit more thought, they'd be a little less miserable in their everyday thing, like a little bit more thought into actually why they might be doing it, getting married. Because listen, if you're gonna go get married, you're gonna go do that, you're gonna have kids, fine, that's cool. I can't stop you. I don't care. It's not me. At first I was really like, nah, like you shouldn't do this, but people are gonna do what they're gonna do anyways. But I think if we can raise a little bit of awareness of the other side of it, the ugly side of it, and then you're like, okay, cool, maybe I'm gonna wait, maybe I'm gonna do that. Dude, now one of my buddies, he was so set and wanted, because he got married, he's like, we want kids. And the other day we were having a couple of beers, he's like, man, I don't know if I want kids anymore. And I'm like, okay. And then we went into that why, like, kids are expensive. And it's like, deep down inside, I still like doing certain things that and I'm like, dude, listen, doesn't mean you can't have a kid at 35. Just don't be in a rush.
That is definitely true, man. I mean, I understand the love that people have once they have kids, but do they have a choice? No, they don't. I mean, it's definitely an attachment that comes just biologically.
Oh, they have a choice, because there's so many kids out there without parents, and they've been, left out in the street. So yeah, there's a choice, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Because see, like, for example, I know this is a little bit more controversial, I'm about to say, but like, for example, those parents who have, Down syndrome children, obviously that's not what they wanted. They didn't want a child with Down syndrome. But unfortunately, that's what they got. And of course they love that child. But how much does that affect their life now? Because now they need, like, all their attention is on that child with this unfortunate, syndrome.
Yeah.
That now, like, you can't really enjoy much of anything else that you would have naturally or normally enjoy. So I completely understand that. Yeah, you love it just because biologically you are bonded to the child, but that doesn't stop the fact that now it just completely changes your life.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah.
The better or the worse, it kind of depends. But
because some argue that it brings out certain other qualities within them, and at the end, you're right. They feel like they become better people because they're doing it. So yeah, I'm not arguing against that, and whatever yours is. But going back to that, I think in other civilizations, not even too long ago, they used to take those kids and just drop them off somewhere,
Exactly.
dude,
or with any other incapacity that they had.
And that is a cruel reality. So whether you have kids or not, how does kids tie into Halloween? Go take them out Halloween. Just check their candy before. And if you have Down syndrome kids, give them some CBD oil if it helps. And it helps with like certain neurological diseases.
Well, I don't know about. I know it helps with seizures. I know.
Dude, I'm starting to get my mother on board with CBD.
That's good.
Yeah, the devil's lettuce. So, with that being said, enjoy your Halloween. Be safe. Have a couple beers. Enjoy life. Life is beautiful.
And just question things a little bit more.
True.
It's interesting what you find when you do.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that said, I think we're done.
We're done here. Thank you for tuning in again.
Love you guys.